Katsamatidis, 2025 New York State Broadcaster of the Year. From humble beginnings, he symbolizes the American dream.
What drives me, my two grandfathers came from the other side in 1913. That's a symbol of what America is. You work hard and you make your children come out better.
He turned 77 WABC from worst to first. Today, his audio networks are heard across the country. His secret to success? Tell the truth.
True justice in the American way, because I believe in that. And we got to tell the truth. And why we've become number one is because the American people believe that if they tune into us, they'll know more of the truth than not. The only way you get fired from WABC is by not telling the truth.
His vision goes beyond New York.
We are right now, we're in 50 states on streaming, and we're in 178 countries. So the world has changed. And the fact is, we change with the world. We're concentrating right now on 50 states. But within months and months away, we're going to concentrate on being number one and compete with the BBC in the world.
A former mayoral candidate, John is a key political player. He has led the charge to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act.
AM radio is very strong. The electric car companies, well, they're against that. But you don't realize, in case AM radio is a member of FEMA, they're a member of getting the truth out in case of war, in case of whatever disastrous situation exists. No matter how sophisticated your radio system is in your electric car, guess what? You're out of business. You're not going to hear anything.
And 77 WABC will be there for New Yorkers.
The fact is that FEMA just spent $4 million, and we're having a press conference in the near future, building a bomb-proof, nuclear-type shelter that, God forbid, there's any big problem. WABC is going to stay on the air for 60 to 90 days. And people, if you have a gasoline car and an AM radio, you'll be able to find out what the heck is going on.
John's message to consumers.
If you don't have an AM radio, don't buy the car.
Because you cannot negotiate away public safety.
The Senate, and the big differential is some Congress people want to sunset the bill. I'm going to discuss it with President Trump. It's not for negotiation.
John gives back to the community. And his book, How Far Do You Want to Go? Lessons from a Common Sense Billionaire, inspires kids to be successful.
I go to Harlem. My wife comes with me, and my kids come with me. And you know what I tell those kids? I'm from Harlem.
While he helps numerous charitable and religious organizations, the kids are special.
Me and Margot, we do mostly a lot of it for children, because it's the future of America. I'm chairman of the Police Athletic League now, so I believe in giving back to the people who helped make America great, and it was my responsibility as being successful in America to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2025 New York State Broadcaster of the Year, John A. Katsamatidis.
Let's welcome John to the stage. John wanted me to remind everybody that yesterday or the day before, Tesla announced they were now taking FM radio out of the car, too. So we got to get his viewpoint on that. Anyway, here's John, Broadcaster of the Year.
Well, where do I begin? A lot of headlines today, and we all have a big mayoral race in 13 days or 12 days, or we're losing track. But as far as, I'm not against electric cars. They can have them. But AM radio, the normal AM way is part of FEMA. It's part of the emergency broadcasting system. I remember when we had blackouts in New York, we all went down to our cars, turned on the AM radio. What's going on? The problem was they didn't even know what was going on. But thank you for this award. And, you know, I can't believe I'm that old, you know, but I love what I do. No matter what we do, we're on the 5th floor for our corporate office, running all our other companies. WABC is our smallest company, but it's the company I enjoy running the best, or helping run the best. I want to thank our team that is here. First of all, Chad Lopez, our president that runs the place day to day. We got George Venizelos, who is my chief of staff, and the fact is he was with the FBI for 25 years and watches all our backs. Thank you, George. Governor David Paterson, who is a common sense Democrat, and I believe in common sense Democrats. If all of you remember, thank you, David. I ran Bill Clinton's campaign back in the 90s, if you can remember that far back. And I still talk to him 2-3 times a week. And we have Dominic Carter, who does a great job. Craig Eaton, a good friend, and is on the Katz and Cosby show. And Emily Pankow, our general counsel. Emily. Let's see. Brian Kilmeade, where's Brian? He's got a big syndicated show with Fox, but his #1 place is WABC. Thank you, Brian. And Rita Cosby. Where are you, Rita? My co-host at 5 o'clock. And I don't want to tell you, go check Nielsen how big our ratings are at 5 o'clock. Our next competitor, I think whoever our next competitor is, we only beat them 7-1. But also, I got a special note to give. By the way, I have a timer here. So, you know, I got to talk faster. Last night, I was in, you know how close, most of you know how close I am to President Trump. And last night, I was in Washington. And they were in the Rose Garden. He's so proud of that Rose Garden. And he did a great job building it. And there was about 100 people there in the Rose Garden, and there's this one table right there in the corner, overlooking the place. And we were at table, me and Margot, my wife. And they said, okay, you're over there at table 1. I said, okay. We go there and we sit down. And Margot, I sit in one chair, the other seat. Margot sits in, and the soldier comes over and says, ma'am, you have to move over. That's the president's seat. But we spent a couple of hours. It was quite a conversation. And he loves New York, by the way. President Trump loves New York. With a passion, he loves New York. And, you know, he grew up here. But I haven't called out Sid Rosenberg yet. Sid Rosenberg, our #1 show on Monday through Friday in the morning. Sid? The president insists on me going into the Oval Office to check out the changes he made to the Oval Office. So we go in, me and Margot walk into the Oval Office with him, and he says, how do you like the place? We know how Trump is. And then he says, Sid, he does a great job. I said, I want you to give him this medal. So in recognition of being here today, Sid Rosenberg, come on up. Last night, you were recognized by the President of the United States, because he's on that every morning, and this is an official medal from the President of the United States for Sid Rosenberg. Thank you.
I just want to say something quickly. I've been in this business for a long time. I've worked at a couple of stations you may have heard of. WFAN, 1010 Wins, all of them. I've never had a better experience working for a man, a family, and a team like at WABC. You know, I never lasted more than 3 years at any job. I had my issues. I'm going on 10 years at WABC. January will be 10 years, and I'm lucky to have this guy as not just my boss, but a father figure and a friend. You picked the right guy for this award today, folks. Congratulations.
The election this week, I guess this morning, Sid, you had a confrontation this morning with Curtis. You'll read about it in all the newspapers. I could only say good things about Curtis. There's nobody that knows New York City better than Curtis Sliwa. He knows every subway station. He knows every neighborhood. And if this was a different city, he would certainly make a great mayor. But don't forget, this city is 70% Democratic. And Andrew Cuomo has been a Democrat all his life. Zoran has been a Democrat for about 5 minutes. And you know, I love New York City. This is politics. There's no politics in this. It's a 501c3 or whatever it is. And by the way, I noticed that your fund, your foundation, WABC is going to donate $25,000 towards your foundation. Hold on, let me check. I got about 30 seconds left. Again, thank you so much. And look, I'm out there fighting for all of us. I'm fighting for America. I'm fighting for the free world. I'm older than all of you. Maybe not as old as my friend from October 2nd. We're fighting together. In New York, I love New York. I grew up in Harlem. I took over from Mr. Bob Morgenthau, who was the chairman of the Police Athletic League for 50 years. He passed away at 99 years and 9 months. And I'm now chairman of the Police Athletic League, and I believe in taking care of the black and brown kids of our inner city, because they're our future. And I believe in keeping them safe. That's what it's all about. Keep them safe. You know, our Gristedes, our D'Agostino stores were open to 24 hours a day. They're open to midnight. Guess what? Our employees don't want to work till midnight. They don't want to work 24 hours a day. We want our city to be a better city. So I want all of you, I want all of us to work as a team to make sure our city is the way it was during the 20 years that Rudy Giuliani and Mike Bloomberg were mayor. And just let's try to improve on that. And let's have some common sense. That's all I want. Again, thank you so much. And I'm always available for whatever you need me for. God bless you guys. God bless New York. And God bless America. Thank you. I I was a jet pilot. 1 second. 1 second. I'm legally blind in my left eye. But I was a jet pilot. I had 4,000 hours until I went to the wrong ophthalmologist. But I'm getting stem cells, so I might fly that jet again. Thank you. That's why I can't go down the steps very fast.
All right, so much for this fancy clock we put down here. We should have known better. But what I mentioned earlier is true, by the way. Tesla is now not putting FM radios in cars, too. So that was a little-known fact that came out this past week. So for those of you in the radio business, we've got a fight on our hands. All right. Congratulations to John for the Hall of Fame, for the broadcast for the year. And now we move on to the Hall of Fame. We have an extraordinary class this year, as we do every year. It's broadcasters from all around the state, big city, small city, radio and television, and they're all so deserved. We're going to start with somebody from the capital of New York. He's now retired, but he was a veteran meteorologist with WNYT, the powerhouse News Channel 13 in Albany since 1988. He worked in the capital region for more than 40 years. Bob Kovacic. He has received every award you could have received in television weathercasting. He's a professional member of both the American Meteorological Society and the National Weather Association. Now that he has the time to do it, Bob is frequently speaking to various organizations and visits youngsters at schools. He had an amazing career. Let's take a snapshot of it and see exactly how amazing it was.
Who do you trust for an accurate, dependable forecast?
I trust Bob Kovacic.
Bob Kovacic.
We both trust Bob Kovacic.
For more than 4 decades,
It's pumped, and that means one thing, wind.
Bob Kovacic was the trusted face of weather in New York's capital region.
Clear now, 54. The day's high, 67.
As chief meteorologist at WNYT News Channel 13, Bob guided viewers through sunshine
That covers the entire viewing area.
and storms with calm,
Northeast wind, 45 to 50.
clarity,
Back with the forecast in a moment.
and credibility.
For 8 years, forecasting the weather in the region was a real challenge, and I loved it, and I screwed it up.
It means a lot that people actually trust what I said, despite the fact that occasionally I was wrong with the forecast. But that's the nature of the beast.
Nada. No visibility there.
Bob's path to becoming a trusted voice in weather began in 1971 with a meteorology degree from Lyndon State College. Early stints in White Plains, Albany, and Pittsburgh shaped his craft.
This has been the story for much of the last 4 to 6 weeks.
But it was his arrival at News Channel 13 in 1988
That's when I was just 12 years old.
that made him a household name.
Who is that masked man, huh?
So where did it all begin?
Future meteorologist. Anyway, I don't know what I was thinking. I knew I loved doing weather because I used to do the weather every night in front of my parents in the living room in the 60s. So I studied weather on my own, took it up in high school. A led to B, led to C, led to C, and I went to college and studied meteorology.
Shower storm coming through overnight.
With the American Meteorological Society's seal of approval
2989 on the barometer and rising.
and decades of experience,
Yay!
Bob didn't just deliver accurate forecasts.
Run, horse, run!
He earned the trust of an entire community.
Most everybody's above 80 right now in Bennington, Pittsfield, Glens Falls, Poughkeepsie, 87.
You get a lot of interaction with the viewer through phone calls, out in the public. In the supermarket, somebody will stop me in front of the avocados and ask me about the weather next week. And, it's like what I did on the air was exactly the same that I would do one-on-one in the public.
7-day planner shapes up like this.
Through it all,
Kind of cool.
Bob was there for the weather moments that mattered.
I think I've said enough for the moment.
Beyond the forecast, Bob made it a mission to educate and inspire.
All the 13 kids.
He visited schools across the region, sharing his love of science with young minds.
So I tried to educate them at the basics of weather and how we forecast the weather and different things. They were always fascinated with tornadoes and storms.
So now you know the big secret of television.
Now retired, Bob leaves behind a legacy of excellence, integrity, and service. His impact on broadcasting and on the lives of those he informed and inspired will be felt for generations.
It's not over for some of us.
All I did was the weather. For a long time, it was just quite a journey. It gives me a lot of feeling, enjoyment in here that I touched so many people out there in TV land.
You can check out this map on our website at wnyt.com. 16 to 24 widespread, 16 to 30 down the south.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Kovacic.
Meteorologists are not used to getting applause. Sorry, I get a little emotional, but I'll stop that. It's certainly my pleasure to be here today. We should just hang around and just enjoy the beautiful view from here, because it is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous day, as forecast, I suppose. I wish I could tell you some of the stories that I ran into, but we can't go to rated X sometimes. But people, fascinated by the weather, and I was fascinated with it growing up. Just a little quick history. I grew up in Westchester County in Portchester, and I was I guess you could say, a weather geek. I had all kinds of weather instruments outside. I had 2 rain gauges, front yard, backyard, thermometer, wind set on the roof. So the neighbors said, "What the heck is wrong with that kid?" And maybe they were right about that. But it was something that fascinated me from when I was about 10, 11, 12 years old, and used to track the weather every day. I wrote a daily log on the weather, what it was doing, and what I thought it was going to do. A couple things that I remember that brought back my memory here was I used to have a red towel and a green towel, and I used to hang it on the front porch when the weather was going to do something. If the weather was going to be lousy that day or rain, I'd hang up the red towel on the front porch. My parents really appreciated that. And when the weather was going to be good and green and sunny, I hung up a green towel that the weather was going to be nice. But it was just something that I was into growing up. And I said the neighbors were asking, "What the heck is he doing?" And I was out there shoveling snow all the time, because that was just part of the business, watching the weather on TV, delivering the weather daily to my parents in the house. So yeah, weather geek, weather nerd, whatever you want to say, certainly fits the bill. But I've been doing the weather a long time, and a couple of forecasts were wrong, but not many. Ha, ha, ha. It gets tough when you're wrong sometimes. I go to the grocery store, and Aunt Martha, whoever, people walk around and say, "The weather stunk today. Is it going to be any better tomorrow? What can you do?" And I can't do a darn thing. I'm not God by any stretch of the imagination. And then the kids will call up after school, even teachers, "Are we going to have a snow day tomorrow? It's going to snow in the forecast." I said, "I have no idea. I don't know." So I said, it's an educated guess. I said, "Why don't you plan on going to school? Do your homework and plan on going to school." And they say, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." Teachers would call asking about the weather, if it's going to snow, how much is it going to snow, will we have school? Like, I'm the superintendent of schools, making that call. But it's been a great run. I've visited many schools down through the years, probably all those years, hundreds of schools, meeting all kinds of kiddos. You get a lot of questions from kids. They ask you, I ask, especially the younger ones, "Have any questions when I talk about?" They'll raise their hand. "How old are you?" "Do you have a dog?" not exactly weather questions, but from the young ones, you expected questions like that to go forward. So, yeah, it's been a great run. I said the shoppers in the grocery store. People will call up and ask about the weather a week ahead of time, 3 months ahead of time. They'll call up and say, "My daughter's getting married in June." And they call me in April. June 8th. What's the weather going to do? And not being totally stupid, I said, well, it probably won't snow, but I think people expect a lot, and, we'd like to deliver more than we can in the forecast, but, you got to learn to take your lumps and bumps, and I got a lot of bumps and kicks in my shins from people who were not happy with the way the weather turned out, but it's all been a great run. Where's the clock? I got a clock? Oh, my gosh, I'm almost done. This is almost like TV. You got a clock in front of you, tick, 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 tick. I'm going to get a rap from the producer over here. I want to say hi to all my family. Sorry, I get emotional. My son, his fiance, my daughter, her husband, friends of the family also here. My wife, Jill, a lot of friends, a lot of family. It's been a great run, but it's time to get the hell away from Mother Nature because she can drive you crazy trying to figure out what she's going to do day in and day out. Worst thing is when your kids ask you about the weather, and I say, I don't know. Going to be school tomorrow? I don't know. Like we're magicians, we're magical people. So anyway, my pleasure to be here. The Broadcast Association and to be here today, enjoy the food, enjoy the scenery, and enjoy talking to you. And don't curse and swear too bad at the meteorologist because we're doing the best we can. I tell people we point to nothing. I used to get my hands dirty with the watercolors on the maps. Then they went to electronic delivery, and my hands didn't get dirty anymore, but I still screwed up the electronics. Anyway. Thank you all. Hope everybody's enjoying the day. Have a good day. It's nice to see you all.
That is a true Capital Region legend right there. Next up is a guy who's literally done it all. Bill Evans is the owner, program director, chief meteorologist, I'm not done yet, and morning show co-host for WLNG in Sag Harbor and WFRM also out there. He's a 20-time Emmy Award winner and a 5 times best-selling author. He's also a recipient of the Ellis Island Medal of Honor for distinguished public service. He also, for 30 years, was the senior meteorologist here in New York for WABC Channel 7. WPLJ had him on frequently with Scott and Todd in the morning, and he was on 77 WABC for many years with a guy named Imus in the morning. He has appeared on numerous network radio, television, and cable broadcasts, as well as the New York stage. I'm tired just reading this off. Now let's take a look at Bill's multi-talented career.
For decades, Bill Evans has been a dynamic force in broadcasting on television, on the radio, and on the stage. Now, as the owner, program director, and chief meteorologist of WLNG 92.1 FM in Sag Harbor, Bill's passion and ability to connect with listeners continue to shine every time he's on the air.
I have a fun job. I get to tell jokes, have fun, give people the weather. They get a laugh, and then they get the weather.
Hi, I'm Bill Evans. Bill is best known for his energetic and entertaining live weather broadcast on location all over the tri-state area, Florida, and beyond.
That's right. We're at Manny's Car Wash. We're singing the blues.
We started bungee jumping off of bridges, doing the weather underwater. The worst moment I ever had was I almost got killed on camera. by an animal, the one-toed sloth.
Bill is a humble man and a 20-time Emmy Award winner.
The Emmys are the fruits of my labor, but my favorite award of them all is being bestowed the Ellis Island Medal of Honor.
A 5-time New York Times best-selling author, 30 years as senior meteorologist for WABC TV's Eyewitness News. Radio listeners know him from WPLJ, 77 WABC, and even ESPN Radio.
Do we have Bill Evans out there? There he is.
This is called spring in New York City. When you're a meteorologist in New York City, you get instant polling data. People will say, hey, nice job on that hurricane. Then you walk 2 blocks later and some guy looks at you and goes, you suck. For 30 years, I was on WABC TV and WPLJ, and I was on the morning show with them, and I was on the morning show on 77 WABC with Don Imus, and I got to learn a lot about radio.
Now at WLNG, he's created a radio station that's as unique and vibrant as the community it serves.
It was a miraculous set of circumstances. Me and Sandra decided we would buy WLNG. We do a show called Lunch on the Deck, and we've interviewed all the East End people that are, there's a lot of stars and a lot of artists and a lot of musicians on the East End. It's also local people. Since it's Lunch on the Deck, you get the Bill Evans lunchbox. Now, this is when I was 16 years old in Maria, Mississippi, and this is now when I'm a little older at WLNG. And we're not tricking you. There is a delicious lunch on the inside.
He's got awards, prestigious honors, and a resume that reads like a highlight reel.
I want everybody to think of me as Mr. Sunshine. The guy you woke up with, he gave you a laugh, he gave you the weather, and you went on about your day.
I'm up every morning with Bill, 'cause he gives me a thrill. Bill Evans, weatherman of adventure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Evans.
I've spoken in a lot of places, but this is the most nervous I've ever been. I get to see so many old friends I haven't even had a chance to eat yet. And I'm just so honored to be here. But here we are in this historic room, and, like I was saying, over at table 4, years ago, 70 years ago, some of you may remember, a guy said to another guy at the table, okay, Herb, we're going to give the answers to Van Doren. And Herb said, well, I know the answer. It's Marty. It's my favorite music. It was the Academy Award winner. And that's how it went down on the game show 21 in this very historic room. A lot of things like that have gone on. As a matter of fact, speaking of historic, being the fact, did he leave? I love this table from 77 WABC where I used to work. Chad Lopez, thank you, my boss. Sid Rosenberg is such an old AM DJ that when he drives underneath a bridge, his voice goes out. But I want to let you know there's another historic moment that you just witnessed. And that was at the end of that video, that Bill Evans Man of Adventure. That was shot 20 years ago at the Silver Cup Studios on the set of The Cosby Show. We got there at 6 in the morning. We shot all day. We shot till midnight. Can you imagine the union cost? It was multiple sets. I looked pretty good, too. Did you see my bicep? I looked pretty good. As a matter of fact, the director, who was British, he said, you look rather butch. I want to put you in it. And I was like, no. This is the Walt Disney Company. So we shoot this video, and the reason why I say it's historic is because it cost $260,000 to make 20 years ago. It has never seen the light of day. You are the first to see it. Congratulations. Yeah, it has never seen the light of day. And, you know, it's television, right? So we were in the midst of a brand new news director. We were in the midst of a brand new general manager. And the promotions director, marketing director had put that together. We shot that, spent the money, spent all day. And the new president and general manager came in, the new news director came in, and the new news director was from a competing television station. And he didn't like it. He didn't like the Weather Live, and he didn't want to run it. And so the two of them agreed to not run that. And the promotions marketing manager quit, and unfortunately, subsequently, the general manager and the news director were fired. So that's TV. That's the way it goes. So I want to say that, you know, $260,000. Could you imagine the conversation Mickey Mouse had with Bob Iger? Iger, they spent $260,000. It could only be just, you know, that spending $260,000 for a promo that never hit the air. But we've all heard those stories in our business. And when I started, I began my career as an 8-year-old. I grew up with my grandparents in Mississippi, a small town, Meridian, Mississippi. 2 radio stations, 1 TV station. And they gave me an AM radio when I was 8 years old. And I put it under my pillow, and I listened to the radio at night. And I listened to John Reckers Landecker on WLS in Chicago. And I wanted to be John Reckers Landecker. And so my grandparents, in those days, you had to have a license. Sid, you had to have a license to be on radio in those days. He needs a license now to be on radio. So my grandparents, when I was 13 years old, drove me to New Orleans, Louisiana, because that's where the FCC federal building was. And my grandfather, who was a very tough man from World War I, World War II, said, you get one shot. If you fail, that's it. We're not driving back down here again. 3.5 hours down, 3.5 hours back. So I passed the test. I became a DJ. And for those 3 years, my parents had to drive me to the radio station for my job. So as I progressed and got older, I began working at age 17 at WHBQ. I worked with Rick Dees. I really learned a lot about radio. It was 56 WHBQ. I started television at WHBQ. And that's where I started doing weather. A guy came into the control room while I was doing a radio show from WHBQ Channel 13. He said, hey, you radio guys, you talk 4 hours. Could you do the weather? And so he said, do you own a suit? And I said, oh, yeah, I own a suit. It's no big deal. So he said, well, come on over and do the weather at 10 o'clock until we can find somebody to fill in. So I did that and started in weather. And I didn't even know anything about weather. I didn't know what the blue H was, the red L. I wasn't like Bob, you know. I mean, my God, he had weather instruments and stuff. And it's so nice to see Bob. And Mr. G is here. So it's Free the Weatherman Day today. As the Bible says, where one or two gathereth in my name, so be it a multitude. So I want to thank 2 people that you won't know their names, but they gave me my first job when I was 13. Don Partridge at WDAL in Meridian, Mississippi, atop of an old hotel in town that was abandoned and haunted. Eddie Smith gave me a deal at 1010 WMOX, a 50,000-watt AM radio station. Oh, it was great. I want to thank the people that are here today who have enhanced my career. I look in this room and I see so many successful people, so many people who have done so well in their careers. And I have been very blessed. I wanted to work at WLS in Chicago. I wound up at WABC in New York City. And I moved here, and I live in Harlem, and I still live in Harlem. I grew up in Meridian, Mississippi, but I'm a New Yorker. And New Yorkers take you in after a while. You know, they beat you up for a while. And once they're through beating you up, then they take you in. And once you're in forever. So I want to thank the people at my table, Gary Louie from Howard Rubenstein, who's here. I want to thank my anchor team. Ken Rosado is here. Ken Rosado, Lori Stokes, Joe Nolan, who has done traffic with me for he's still on the air with me at WLNG. For 35 years, Joe and I have worked together. And, of course, Joe's late, which is typically Joe. You know, he's from South Jersey. He doesn't realize. Might take a couple hours to get here. But that's Joe, and that's why we love him. My sister-in-laws are here, and I want to thank all of those people. Tom Cuddy from WPLJ Radio. Tom was to be here, and I just can't thank people like Father Jim, Monsignor Jim, who's here, I always need a blessing, Monsignor. I'm so glad that you're here. I want to thank a very special person to me. You know, I worked with 19 different news anchors. And so me, Ken, Lori, and Joe, we took a show that was in last place, and we went to first place. And we stayed in first place a very long time. And I couldn't have done that without the support of my wife, Sandra. We bought WLNG, and it was just a miraculous, as I said, a set of circumstances where it was her idea to buy WLNG. She said, you know, you don't have to get up at 1:30 in the morning. You know, it's hard. You've done that 30 years. You know, let's buy that little radio station. And it's a vintage, legendary radio station. And when she said that to me, the first thing after working at PLJ and being bought by Cumulus and Citadel and ABC and Disney, and I looked at her and I said, do you know how to make a small fortune in radio? Start with a large one. So we have done very well with that radio station. We started with 11 employees. We have 28. We have a second radio station, WFRM, and we're just winding up buying our third radio station. So that's enough, you know. It was supposed to be like a little retirement project for me. So it has just been fabulous. We have great employees. We're about to go to 35 employees at our little radio station on the East End. So what I want to also say is about Sandra is that, you know, she has just been the impetus for all of this, and I can't thank you enough for this day and how great this has all been. So, I mean, when you have a keeper like Sandra, who's just been behind me all this time and all this way, it has been fantastic. I want to leave you with one story about people helping people. And as I mentioned, all along the way, we've had people who have helped us. When I was 16 years old, I was on the air in Meridian, Mississippi at 1010 WMOX. And I thought, I'm going to call somebody and get the real advice I need. So I decided I'm going to call New York City, and I'm going to call the Today Show. And I want to speak with Hugh Downs. And those of you, and some of you younger ones in the room may not know who Mr. Downs is, but he was on the Today Show and did the Today Show at that time on NBC in this building. So I called to get him on the phone, and I charged the call to the radio station at that time. It's very expensive for Mississippi. You know, you have to wind the crank, and you know you can get Mount Pilot on the operator. It looks like Ruth Buzzy. So you get connected, and he actually came on the phone. I was on the phone, and Hugh came on the phone. And he talked to me for 45 minutes in the afternoon and gave me great advice. Now, I thought he pranked me at first because he said, I want you to go sit in go to the corner of a building, put your hands around your ears, and talk and listen to yourself. And I thought, this guy's pranking me. So I was doing it at the high school, and the kids were making fun of me, and I was recording myself, and I really wanted to be successful on his advice. And so 10 years later, ABC, my new employer, sends me down to FAO Schwartz on 59th Street for a fundraiser for UNICEF, Hugh Downs' favorite charity. Hugh is there, and I am there, and I'm standing next to Hugh. And I said, I just wanted to let you know that I called you 10 years ago, and you gave me advice. And here I am standing next to you today as colleagues at ABC. And I said, you don't remember that, do you? And he said, no, I don't. And I said, that's the kind of person you are. You help people without even thinking about it. And you gave me this great advice, and here today I'm standing next to you. And we're colleagues. And he put out his hand, and he gave me this big toothy smile, and he said, welcome to ABC. And that's the kind of person he was. And I have been so fortunate to be blessed and so fortunate to have had great help from all of these people. Thank you for this honor. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to eat, but I do have a delicious meal waiting for me. See there, Sid? Got one of these? No. You need to get you one of them. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Thank you, Bill. Great stories, and congratulations. Next up, we're spending a lot of time here in Sag Harbor today. Gary Sapien epitomizes the best in local broadcasting. He is the general manager and morning show co-host at WLNG and WFRM. If that sounds familiar, it should be. He's a 20-time, well, wait a second, I got the wrong guy. Hold. Somebody switched my scripts around. We were all right until then. Gary is doing all that, but he read his first commercial on the air at WLNG in 1964. He worked weekends at LNG in 1970, and in 75, he started full-time. In 2008, Gary became the station manager. In 2012, he became president of Main Street Broadcasting. His commitment to Sag Harbor and the people of Eastern Long Island, spending over 50 years there, is unsurpassed. Let's take a look at his outstanding career.
Swap and shout, local news, jingles and great DJs, WLNG.
It's the jingle of the day. For more than 5 decades, Gary Sapien has been the steady voice and guiding hand behind WLNG 92.1 FM and Sag Harbor. From his first on-air moment in 1964 to becoming general manager and morning show host, Gary's journey is a testament to passion, perseverance, and pure love for radio.
Gary Sapien starts your day.
I just like being part of people's lives every day. You know, we do birthdays in the morning, and I have people who maybe were 1 or 2 years old. I was wishing them a happy birthday. They're now senior citizens, and I'm still wishing them happy birthday.
Gary's radio roots run deep, starting in high school, working weekends at WLNG in the 1970s, and eventually stepping into leadership after the passing of his mentor, Paul Sidney.
Little did I know I'd be the president of the company, you know, but we managed to, come along and didn't run aground, and, here we are, bigger and better than ever.
In 2012, Gary became president of Main Street Broadcasting, carrying forward the station's legacy while keeping its spirit alive.
We have a jingle that says we're one big happy family. You know, our listeners, our advertisers, and the people that work here. We consider everybody part of the family.
From storm chasing and aviation to riding the Cross Sound Ferry during nor'easters, Gary's hobbies reflect his adventurous spirit, and that same energy and authenticity shine through every time he's on the air.
I have fun being on the radio. I like providing the community service and, finding people's lost dogs, reading the news, playing songs that I like. We do birthdays and anniversaries of people celebrating. Also do obituaries on the local news. It's like a start-to-finish live station.
Gary Sapien brings more than just decades of service. He brings joy, consistency, and a voice that's become part of the community. A true original, whose presence on the airwaves will never fade.
I just feel that I belong there with them. I'm honored about them, having me in their life. And this is the way radio should be.
Gary and I met years ago over the phone. I called up the radio station and said, hey, could I do the weather for you guys? And Gary picked up the phone and said, no, we don't need you. We have a guy who does the weather. And I said, well, we all know each other, meteorologists. Who's your weather guy? I probably know him. He goes, well, he's not really a meteorologist. He's a plumber. And I went, oh, your weather guy's a plumber. He goes, yeah, but he loves the weather. And I went, well, I'll do it for free. He goes, no, that's okay, but thanks for calling. And so to this day, I remind my good friend Gary Sapien, I had to buy the radio station in order to do the weather on it. So to you, Gary, congratulations. You're a great guy. There's not a dog in the world that would bite you. Congratulations, my friend.
Gary Sapien on wonderful WLNG.
Ladies and gentlemen, a truly great local broadcaster, Gary Sapien.
Well, thank you very much. I'll tell you how my career in radio started. My mother took me to visit a radio station in Riverhead, like in 1962, and I got the bug ever since then. And what I used to do, I'd go home to West Hampton Beach, and I'd play pretend radio in my house. So I would have two turntables. I had a radio that made it look like a control board, and I had a Webcord tape recorder that worked sometimes. I would read ads out of the newspapers. That was my commercials. And I'd sit there all day and talk to myself. And it was kind of fun. And what happened was in 1965, I got a high school report on WAPC in Riverhead. And then in 1966, somebody left there, and they had no alternative but to put me on the air, and I've been on the air ever since. I was a junior at West Hampton Beach High School. I had to do my homework during records, and my dad had to come and pick me up at 11 o'clock at night because I didn't have a car. I couldn't drive yet. And this station played the worst music. I was 16 years old, and I was playing stuff I had no clue what it was, but I was on the radio. And that summer, I was very fortunate. I got hired weekend at a station in Bayshore. WBIC was 540 on the dial, and it was a top 40 station. So at least I had a little bit of fun doing that. More people said they heard me on that station than the one around my backyard, but, that's the way radio goes. But, it's been great. I enjoyed doing it. I want to thank, I was one of the trustees at WLNG when the longtime owner passed away, and I will never, ever want to be a trustee again because he had kids, and, we're under pressure to sell it. And from up above, Sandra and Bill come along, and they drop in the Redwood Causeway. And, I love you guys very much. You've been the best to me. And, couldn't have been anybody better to own that radio station, and keep the heritage of it going. So congratulations and thank you for that. And I also want to point out that Pete Wink came all the way from Beaufort, North Carolina to be here. Pete's probably the only one that's alive that was there on my first day. We worked at the same radio station, and he told me, with the little Ampex tape recorder, that it wasn't a good idea to have the VU meter going in the red. So I always appreciate that. And it's been a long time, Pete. I love you too. We owned a station together in Havelock, North Carolina back in the 1960s. And the way that worked out was he was $2,000 short, and my parents co-signed a loan in 1968 for $2,000 so I could be a part of that station. That was a lot of money back in those days. They took a chance on that. So, we owned that, and it was fun. I enjoyed, working with Pete, and it's great to see you. We're getting up there in ages, but, So, that's my whole career. I've been on December 25th, I've been at WLNG for 50 years. Day in and day out. I'm just the guy that gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go do what I love the best, and, us hang out with Bill, play records, and Joe Nolan as well, for traffic, when he gets there to do it for us. But, he's 90% accuracy rate on that, but it's fun. So, but thank you very much. This means a lot to me. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Well, this is going to be a fun one. Matt Mulcahy is next. Matt is the 5-time Emmy Award-winning anchor, reporter, and managing editor at NBC3 News in Syracuse. He's actually on just about every television station in Syracuse, but we'll go with that for now. Matt has spent 39 years covering the news on TV in upstate New York and 35 years in the hometown of Syracuse. The Syracuse Press Club recently inducted him into its Wall of Distinction, which is its highest honor. He's earned a total of 29 Emmy Award nominations for anchoring, reporting, writing, and producing. The news stories have taken Matt from central New York across the country and around the world. And he's probably, one of the things I would say he's probably most proud of recently is the way he has integrated the new media and social networking into the coverage of the nightly news that he does at the 6 and the 6:30 and the 7 and the 10 and all over the place. Let's take a look at his outstanding award-winning career.
I'm Matt Mulcahy with continuing coverage of 2. This is an interstate highway, and these trucks are going nowhere.
For nearly 40 years, Matt Mulcahy has been a steady and trusted presence in upstate New York as anchor, reporter, and managing editor at NBC3 News in Syracuse. He's delivered the day's stories with clarity, compassion, and a deep commitment to the community he serves.
I think trust means more than it's ever meant. That we end up sort of experiencing life alongside our viewers, sort of holding the hand or sometimes leading the way.
Matt's journalism has earned 5 New York Emmys and multiple Edward R. Murrow Awards. His reporting has taken him from ground zero to the Vatican, Lockerbie to Bosnia, always bringing Syracuse viewers closer to the stories that matter.
It's a privilege to be part of our collective community, but also those very localized spaces that mean even more to people when we're telling their story.
His documentaries, including Bosnia, Returning Home, and the Heidi Allen Files, reflect his dedication to storytelling that informs and inspires.
You're always wanting to know more about this, and this. And I think that's what still keeps me driven.
Matt pioneered digital journalism with his award-winning blog, Matt's Memo, and helped integrate social media into local news coverage. He and his wife, Jamie, also founded the Shamrock Animal Fund, helping thousands of pets in underserved neighborhoods. Proof that compassion is at the heart of everything he does.
Well, giving back is part of what we do every day. What a tremendous way to integrate in your community and touch lives that you otherwise would miss.
Matt Mulcahy's career is a testament to journalism done right, with integrity, empathy, and excellence. A hometown journalist whose voice has shaped a community and whose legacy will continue to inspire.
It has been a privilege and a joy working with Matt, my work husband, for over 20 plus years. His achievements, there are so many, speak for themselves.
He intimately cares not only about just the news of the day around the world, around the country, but right here in central New York, and I know he's going to be fully invested in telling the story.
Matt is a work brother, and that relationship is different. It's that level of respect, I think, that can fill you and make you better.
Congratulations, Nat, on this incredible achievement that is a long time coming. I am so immensely proud to sit next to you each night and wish you all the continued success in the future.
When I started doing this, I guess I didn't know where it would go. And I think if I do have a legacy, is that I did care about this community deeply, where I was born, where I grew up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Mulcahy.
I'm going to read Ed's script again. Norm Silverstein, that's giving a preview of what's ahead. It's tough following a billionaire, a legendary weatherman who owns radio stations in the most beautiful place on earth, the guy who works for him and getting up 50 years in a row. It's not easy to do, but I'll do my best. And I want to thank right off the top Amy Collins and Andy Carlisle, our management of our station, who's here, Sean Carroll, our news director, who couldn't be here today. And also those who specifically came to support me, Kevin Morris here, Michael, Megan, and Peter you saw already, Bob Maxson, meteorologist in Hartford, who was just here being honored for 30 years with NBC, Jim Axelrod from CBS News, a longtime friend and colleague, Bill Pito of MSG and ESPN, Larry Levine, who just happened to live in my dorm, and John Mulcahy, my brother, who's here too today. Hall of Fame broadcaster. What higher compliment really is there that we can receive in our business? I want to thank my wife, Jamie, by the way, who has walked this unusual life with me, these weird hours, but a perpetual source of love and support. Over the last couple of months, we were going through some of those boxes. Maybe some of you have them in your attic or you're someplace where you're supposed to be cleaning out, but you haven't yet. And they're filled, in our case, with clippings and hard memorabilia, but also 3/4-inch tapes and beta tapes, and even some SVHS, which was a very short-lived, thankfully, format in our industry, but inexpensive, nonetheless, for those managers and owners in the room who appreciate that. But out of the shoebox of photos and clippings of those hard memories, we found this. It's a 1993 print ad that features that legendary Hall of Fame anchor Jackie Robinson, who you see here, probably the best investigative reporter of all time, Jim Kenyon, and me promoting our 6 and 6:30 p.m. newscast at that time. And on it says, "Across the street and across the world." And it really struck me that that's such a great way to describe my career and really get at the essence of what that is all about. This sentiment really is prescient in capturing how my career developed, a continuing search for the connections between what happens down the road, across the country, or around the world. Really, it's all connected. Broadcasters know this. They understand it. You just saw many of those connections to the world in the video. The Pan Am 103 bombing, for example, that cemented Syracuse to Lockerbie. New York soldiers engaged in conflicts around the world that I witnessed in Bosnia. The joy of a saint from central New York being canonized in St. Peter's Square. The across the street part, that carries just as much meaning as well. So many big stories covered. 34 years separating two officers killed in the line of duty in our community that I covered both of them. The blizzard of '93, the Labor Day storm, and last year a tornado sweeping through Rome, New York, which is part of our market too. And then there was a legendary corrupt mayor who I followed as he got out of federal prison. And there's also our duty to hold the hand of the community, lead the way, as I mentioned in the video, from events like September 11th, and of course the COVID pandemic. Broadcasters know these connections and understand them. It's a profession that's really driven by passion, to the students in the back, and competition. Passion to succeed, to gather information no one else has, to tell stories more effectively, creatively, and succinctly, to visualize stories in ways nobody else can see before they are produced. So they engage the viewer and hold them intellectually and emotionally. Now, of course, it's a team sport. So let's just stipulate to that. Working with great people matters. I personally work to maximize my God-given abilities and the skills gained through pressure and repetition, not only to do it better than the station down the street, but to do it better than your fellow reporter or anchor who's sitting a desk or a cubicle away. It takes solitary confidence and focus to get that job done, confidence in oneself. Broadcasters know this, and you understand it. Now, where did that confidence begin? Well, I'll fast forward past the foundation of a loving household where we grew up, rigorous academics, the power of music, theater, arts, athletics, and developing as a young person. I'm going to skip to when I decided to go to Ithaca College, which helped reveal the path in communications I had not yet seen. Not until my finance major roommate went to the open house for student and radio TV did my eyes open to those possibilities. I saw directors in control rooms, editors in suites, DJs on microphones. They spent countless hours in windowless places. What drove them? Soon that mysterious force would be driving me too. Now, engaging in television or radio production, digital these days, is part of the story, but becoming a news person, a journalist, that energy manifested in me when I assisted on the coverage of President Reagan. He came to Union Endicott High School in the era of WBNG being the dominant station in the southern tier of New York. It was September of 1984. He delivered his famous Which Way, EJ speech, bringing attention to a region that proudly welcomed immigrants to America, finding work so they can make a better life. I was just 18 at the time. And seeing the president up close, watching the network crews work, it inspired me. I wanted to be part of that. You know, broadcasters, you know that. You understand. Each of us has our unique path. My first paying job in journalism was actually in cable news, one of the first local operations of its kind in the country. Then I worked at WBNG in Binghamton, putting in the work to produce, to write, to anchor, to report, so I would be a professional. Now, in Syracuse, I interned at Channel 9, I worked at Channel 3, I worked at Channel 5, then I went to Fox 68, then I came back to 3, we brought in the CW, and then 5 came back in, and I even did a few tell-alks at the PBS station at the time. But, thankfully, I've been at Channel 3 anchoring 5, 6, 10, and 11 for quite a while now, and it's been a nice run of being in my hometown. Yes, there were windows to move on, but the better choice really was to stay. And broadcasters in this room know that today. Remember, across the street or across the world? Well, award-winning photographer Joe Picciotto and I went to Bosnia with the 10th Mountain Division. We embedded with them. The Army wanted us to tell its story. I wanted to tell the story of the people there who lived and died during a war. We met a family of 8. They were living on a dirt slab with a house that was built from scraps of wood and cardboard. We talked to an aging young mother who was staying in an apartment with the survivors of the Srebrenica massacre. She told us about the hydroelectro dam in her town that would stop working. There were too many dead bodies in it, clogging up the works. The Bosnian countryside was beautiful, cinematic. The people hopeful. The work did win us an Emmy Award for Best Documentary. Telling the human story instead of the official is always the better choice. Broadcasters know this, and you understand. Investigative pieces have been a large part of the reporting I've been doing in more recent years while I anchor news nightly. I uncovered files not disclosed to the defense in the Heidi Allen kidnapping case, 1994. And sadly, the one man convicted who I interviewed weeks before he died was never found to be innocent. The officials never came around to admitting it they got wrong, even though I had the documents showing they did. I also discovered a century-old map of Syracuse in the digital files of the National Archives. The map shows one of the earliest examples in our whole country of redlining in American City. No one alive today, even the guys who work at Long Island Radio, knew this map existed. And on it was red, green, and yellow, and in pencil, etched each ethnic group and where they are supposed to live: Irish descent, Italian, German descent, Polish, Jewish, and Negro, all with their designated places to live. The special series of the map won an Emmy. It paints a picture of government policy limiting lives of specific groups while favoring others, a problem still not remedied today. Broadcasters know this. They understand it. They understand the critical importance of building trust over time that comes from original reporting that's fact-based but personal, that comes from years of showing up, asking questions, developing a command of how the world works, how our community works. It's essential that our newsrooms have people with perspective who know what came before and see what's coming down the road. What a thrill it is to sit in the middle of the pressure cooker of breaking news as an anchor, offering comfort and insight. It is not a job for everyone, but it is for me and for all of us who do it. Part of the joy it brings is the unpredictability. We don't know what tomorrow's news will bring. We know something will happen beyond our imagination, and that's when the best in our business step up and perform, and I can't wait to do it again. Broadcasters know this feeling, whether it's across the street or across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, and once again, congratulations. Okay, whew, what a lineup today. Our next inductee is a legend in public media. Norm Silverstein retired from WXXI in 2024 after nearly 30 years of dedicated service at the helm of Rochester's public media stations. When he joined it, it was operating one television station and 2 radio stations. By the time Norm retired, it operated 4 public television channels, a cable channel for the city of Rochester, 7 public radio stations, and the Little Theater. He formed the Rochester Area Media Partners with the purchase of City Magazine. For decades, Norm served honorably as the chairman of the New York State Broadcasters Association Finance Committee, as we found out today at our board meeting, ensuring the financial health of our organization for years to come. Norm deserves a large part of the credit for that. Let's take a look at his legendary career.
For nearly 30 years, Norm Silverstein led WXXI Public Media with vision, integrity, and a deep commitment to community.
We always tried to put Rochester first, and I'm still very proud of all of the programs and series that we developed in Rochester and the difference we made to so many people.
Under his leadership, WXXI transformed from a modest local broadcaster into a nationally respected public media powerhouse, serving Rochester and beyond with trusted news, cultural programming, and educational content.
Kids programming, it's always going to be a really important part of what we do as an industry. And local news and local public affairs and local elections, those are all the types of things that public media should be doing.
Since Norm's arrival in 1995, WXXI has grown from 1 TV and 2 radio stations into a multimedia organization with 4 public TV channels, 7 radio stations, a city cable channel, and the historic Little Theater. In 2019, it expanded further by acquiring City Newspaper, preserving another important community asset, and strengthening coverage of local arts and culture. Norm also led WXXI into the digital age and spearheaded 2 record-breaking capital campaigns.
Well, I knew when we started working on the digital transition, there were going to be some great new opportunities for the station and for the community. So that's why we expanded. A lot of times stations would shrink back, and we always look for opportunities to move forward.
Norm's leadership extended far beyond Rochester. He served on national boards, shaped public media policy, and helped elevate the role of broadcasting in education, healthcare, and the arts.
We, unlike a lot of stations in the country, kept our main channel on the radio as classical music. And people would ask why, because a lot of people were dropping classical for things that got bigger ratings. And I always reminded our folks, well, this is a music city. This is the home of the Eastman School of Music, the Rochester Philharmonic Orchestra, Hochstein Music School, and so many others.
One of Norm's most impactful accomplishments is the Move to Include initiative, a pioneering collaboration with the Golisano Foundation that champions inclusion for individuals of all abilities. In recognition of his leadership and dedication, Norm was honored with the 2025 Move to Include Award.
Move to Include is just a great opportunity to show how you can make a difference. And we wanted to give people the opportunity from the disabled community to go on the air and talk about what was important.
Norm Silverstein's career is a masterclass in public service, strategic growth, and unwavering dedication to the power of media.
Anytime I went into a grocery store, I would feel a tap on my shoulder, and I would hear, "Thank you." And I would say, "You're welcome, but what did I do?" And I would hear, "I can't tell you what my life would be like without WXXI." And when you get that kind of reaction from people, I think it tells you might be doing the right thing.
Please welcome the one, the only, Norm Silverstein.
Wow. Well, thanks. Thanks, Ed and Dave. I'm really honored to be part of the NYSBA's Hall of Fame class of 2025. And I want to extend a special thanks to my friends, family, and colleagues who have joined us today to be part of this special event. I also want to extend an extra special thanks to my wife, Jane, who's been with me every step of the way. I couldn't have done it without her, as she reminds me every day. In fact, broadcasting brought us together. When we met, Jane was working for a radio station in Annapolis, Maryland. She had her own show. I was a reporter for WTOP in Washington, you know, the big shot down there. And that's how we ran into each other. It was brought together by Maryland politics, and nobody had to go to jail. I'm also glad that our sons, Ben and Lee, were able to be with us today, because I know they're familiar to a lot of you because they came to all those retreats on Lake George with me every year. So thanks, Ben and Lee. I began my career actually in broadcasting, which I didn't talk that much about, but I was a broadcaster who started at WAMU, at American University, in Washington. And my mentor at AU was a man named Ed Bliss, who was a professor who loved broadcast journalism. He inspired a lot of people. Does the name Susan Zirinsky ring any bells? The first female president of CBS News was one of my, I'm proud to say, one of my classmates. And Ed was a CBS guy. For those of you who know CBS, you understand this was a guy who actually was a news writer for Edward R. Murrow and worked very closely with Walter Cronkite. And he instilled in all of us an appreciation of the importance of the news and the importance of our work to the communities that we serve. I'm not sure what Ed would say today in these interesting times for media, especially public media. But as I look back 30 years at WXXI, I know I was fortunate to be recruited to be there, to a city I didn't really know, but a city I came to love. And with the demise of so many newspapers, local broadcasting is really still the most important thing in a lot of our lives. They keep us, the people who are doing the local news and the local stories are the ones that you turn to when there's unexpected bad weather. I didn't really do a lot of weather, but we always understood exactly what you were talking about. That you think about it. When anything's going with the weather, what do? You turn to a local station. You're not going to turn to the network. And you can find information you only could find from your local stations, and we were always proud of that. It's just another reason why local broadcasters are different. And you know what? It's yet another reason why New York is really fortunate to have such a great association as the NYSBA. Having worked with Dave Donovan for so many years as a board member and chair of finance, I can assure you, Dave has the best interests of the stations at heart, and I saw it every day that I worked with him or gave advice. He worked to keep the stations informed about the challenges ahead. As a matter of fact, I know that the first time I ever heard the expression AI for artificial intelligence, it was because of the state broadcasters board meeting where someone came in and presented on it. This was a number of years ago. And we discussed how not only were states responding to this new technology, but what impact it would have on how we do everything, especially covering the news. And let me assure you, NYSBA was on top of this issue. I kind of laugh when he says, Norm was a board member and chair of our finance committee. And I used to say, why do you ask the poor guy from public broadcasting to be the head of the finance committee? And I think it had something to do with pledge drives. That I was always instrumental in making sure that we always had a balanced budget. So when I look back at 30 years with WXXI, I know that this is something that was probably the biggest single thing in my career. And you heard a little bit about things that we did a little differently than a lot of people in the room, because we did have an opportunity to really make an impact in our community. We were presented with an opportunity to merge with or acquire the Little Theater, which is a theater in Rochester that has been operating continuously since 1929. And we were able to, with our abilities, to share what we knew about going digital and raising money and being good administrators to save this Rochester iconic building and organization. And we are super proud of that. And the little theater still is there when the lights go on and it illuminates the street that it's on. It makes a difference. It makes a real difference in our community. And you saw quickly that we did take over a newspaper. Imagine that. That at these times when people are shutting newspapers and magazines down, we found a way to take over, with the help of the people who founded the paper, the City News. And that's something that we're also very proud of. And one thing that I would want to make sure that everyone heard was that we felt that sharing stories with other stations and working with other stations throughout the community and the state was a really important thing for us to be doing. Frequently, we partnered with commercial stations, particularly in Rochester. And Chuck Samuels, who most of you I think know, he was a great partner for us. We didn't just think about, well, we can't work with Channel 13. They're a competitor. And what we did was we did work with Channel 13 and other local broadcasters, and it made us stronger. And it means people were tuning to us to find out what was going on in almost every political race. So thanks, Chuck, for being a great partner. Made a huge difference. So thank you all so much for the recognition. As people said to me, gee, you're getting an award from the state broadcasters. I said, yeah, you know what? It's the only one I really ever wanted. So this was a really special day for me. And I want to thank all of you, and especially for Dave Donovan, who has been were you hiding up there, Dave? We could do a whole afternoon on what Dave has done to turn this association around and to make it really very, very useful to all of the stations and helping all of us. So thank you. It's been great working with you. And I know this is a man who always had the stations at first heart and continues to be one of our best friends. So I'm going to miss you all. I might miss the Sagamore a little bit. But I suppose I can always go and...
Always welcome.
So thank you all. Congratulations to all my colleagues who are part of the Hall of Fame class of 2025. And thank you to my friends at NYSBA for making this day possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Norm, and congratulations. Okay. Well, our final inductee this afternoon really needs no introduction to anybody in New York City. Katie Tong launched her broadcasting career thousands of miles away in California. It's hard to believe that she worked anywhere other than New York, but she did. She was at KCBS, KPIXT, KCRA television. Fortunately for us, in 1981, Katie headed east to New York's WABC, where she eventually co-anchored the 5 p.m. and the 11 p.m. newscast. She then joined WPIX, Channel 11 in New York, and she has been there for a decade and remains there today. She's received numerous regional Emmy Awards and the prestigious Governor's Award, which is the highest honor from a chapter of the National Association of Television Arts and Sciences. She's been recognized by various Chinese American organizations, children's agencies, and women's groups. She was also presented with the Ellis Island Medal of Honor. Let's take a look at Katie's outstanding career.
New York has many icons: the Empire State Building, the Statue of Liberty, and Katie Tong.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Katie Tong. Welcome to the Pix 11 News at 10.
Born in China, Katie is a descendant of Confucius, her mother being the 77th generation of the Confucian line. Her family fled communist China and settled in Washington, D.C. She learned to speak English in public school and later graduated from Bryn Mawr with a degree in English literature. Katie got into the news business by accident, but she was hooked, and the rest is history.
Channel 3 reports news headlines.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cuddy Tom reporting from the Channel 3 newsroom. Some of the stories we're working on for you tonight. A very important question for you. The famous cartoon character Tweety Bird had an arch enemy. What was his name? Time's up. In case you forgot, it was Sylvester.
This is Eyewitness News with Bill Butel, Cuddy Tom with Storm Field, with Gil Nobles, with Tom Snyder.
You hear Scott Shannon in the morning, right?
Never. I'm never. Well, I'm never out that early. That's the only reason.
Beauty rest, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, boy, do I ever.
The reason rats are dangerous is because they live in places like this.
With Ernie Anastas.
Cuddy Tong. We anchored together for several years at Channel 7 Eyewitness News, and it was a wonderful time there. Cuddy, you are a gem.
When I met Cuddy, I thought she was absolutely gorgeous, and Ernie Anastas was with me, and they said, this girl is sensational, and he said to me, she is way out of your league.
This is the News at 10.
Good evening. I'm Cuddy Tong.
And I'm Marvin Scott.
Working alongside Cuddy is so inspirational. Her professionalism, her warmth, her cool demeanor. Nothing at all pretentious about Cuddy Tong.
Well, that's Channel 11 News for this Monday. We made it to the first show.
We made it.
Feels
Wow.
good. Okay, I'm
yes.
Cuddy Tong.
Being such a recognizable New York character, Cuddy has been featured in movies, soap operas, and even songs.
Get around, Cuddy Tong, get around. Not using tone, Cuddy Tong, get around.
Did I hear you say goodbye to your saxophone?
No, I am happy.
She's a really consummate news person, a very high standard of anchoring.
The pioneer, the living legend. I've known you for over 20 years. I've had the pleasure of sitting next to you on that anchor desk, and every time I talk to you, I'm still a little bit starstruck.
It's one thing to be able to work with somebody that you like, but to have a chance to work with somebody that you really admire, that is something else.
Like so many Chinese-American young women growing up in this city, you knew who Cuddy Tong was, and you watched her on the news. She was a role model and a beacon of possibility for so many of us who aspire to be in this field.
I'm proud to call her a colleague and a friend.
And I am in awe of her.
She is a goddess.
A super woman, a super friend.
You deserve all the accolades and all the awards.
A true joy, a true legend, and just the best.
And you are truly one of New York's very own, and we are lucky to have you.
Congratulations, Cuddy, on entering the New York State Broadcasters Association Hall of Fame.
Goodness. What took you so long? And yes, I do appear taller on television. Seriously, I'm so thrilled to be receiving this honor. I want to congratulate all my fellow honorees and to thank Ed Levine, David Donovan, and the New York State Broadcasters Association. Thank you all, everyone, so much. This is truly an amazing honor, especially since I never aspired to be a broadcast journalist. No, I wanted to be a college professor. For some reason, I just loved campus life, and I wanted to be on a college campus for as long as I possibly could. So when I graduated from Bryn Mawr, I applied to the longest graduate programs I could find in the country, and one of them happened to be Stanford University's doctoral program in Chinese and Japanese studies. I applied. I was accepted with a full academic scholarship. Thank you, Tiger Mom. And I figured my career path was set, but life had a different plan. I got my master's and was on my way to getting my doctorate when I decided I needed a break. I needed a summer gig. Nobody told me that you can't just walk into the #1 all-news radio station in San Francisco and ask for a job. So that's exactly what I did. No credentials, no experience, maybe a little bit of chutzpah, and they hired me. Go figure. I mean, they had me writing news copy almost immediately. It was crazy. And after doing that for several months, way past the summer, I got 2 calls. One from Stanford saying, "Where the heck are you?" And one from a San Francisco television station. They were looking for writers. Well, during that interview, they asked me, "Have you ever been in front of a camera?" And I said, "No, and I don't want to be. I'm here for the writing test." Well, I passed the writing test, and they put me in front of a camera, and they hired me as a street reporter. Again, no experience whatsoever. I had no idea what I was doing. Well, trust me, this would never happen today. But this was the early 70s, and everybody was stoned. It's true. Everybody. Unlike today when everybody in their early 70s is stoned. But in any case, I digress. So my new bosses thought it would be fun to mess with a new girl, me. So one of my very first assignments was to cover a murder at an S&M club. I was just a kid. I barely knew what the S&M stood for. Scrabble and Monopoly? No idea. But I figured it out. I kept going, and I got better. From there, I went to Sacramento, where I anchored for several years, a very good experience. And then, in 1981, I got the call from New York City. I couldn't believe it, the #1 market in the country. At this point, I could care less if I ever saw another college campus again. I was hooked. I've been bitten hard by the broadcasting bug. You know, it's been quite the journey. I'm almost 80 years old now. Not too bad, right? 78 to be exact. And as I look back on my career, I'm filled with gratitude. I really am. I'm grateful that as an immigrant who came here to the States from China, speaking not a single word of English at the age of 4, that today I'm standing here before all of you in the Rainbow Room, for Pete's sake, receiving this honor. I'm very thankful to my Pix 11 family of 35 plus years, to my talented and funny colleagues, many of whom have become very, very good friends. All the way from Cincinnati today is my friend and former co-anchor, the one and only Jim Watkins. We worked together for 12 wonderful years, and if I may be completely frank right here, we were terrific together. We really were. I'm grateful I've had the chance to encourage and mentor so many bright young women who had their own dreams and who went on to make their own mark in this industry. I'm grateful to the fans who stopped me on the street saying how much they like me and they watch me all the time, and just as I'm saying thank you, and feeling really good about myself, they go, "And don't forget to say hello to your husband, Maury." And it still happens. They still think I'm the one who's married to Maury Povich. Let's get that straight. I'm not. I'm grateful to the moms who named their daughters after me, and to the viewer who named her dog after me. It's true. I appreciate all the folks I work with who truly understand the most important part of broadcast television. That's right, hair and makeup. I'm especially grateful to the lighting and video guys who for decades, year after year, have put up with me going, erase, 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 soften, soften, soften. Kitey, you're completely out of focus now. Perfect. That's just the way I like it. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
time, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thank you very much to everybody for coming this afternoon. That wraps up our program. If we could get all the Hall of Fame inductees up for one nice big group photo, that would be great. Thank you for coming, and hope you enjoyed yourself. We'll see you again next year.